Hello, how are you? I hope you're having a gorgeous day. I really wanted to come in today and talk about the concept of worst case scenario. So, we face things all the time in our lives that can have multiple outcomes. And I feel like we probably spend a lot of time when we're in those scenarios and they're not quite finished yet, like the end hasn't quite come yet or the outcome hasn't resolved yet or been resolved yet. We can quite often get ourselves into a bit of a tailspin, I guess, thinking about all the different outcomes that can happen and what if this happens and what if this happens and oh my god, this isn't going my way and I'm so stressed about this and this is going wrong. Like, it can get crazy sometimes. And I have someone in my life at the moment, that saying, when it rains it pours. It's totally pouring where she is, and just everything, the poor thing. And but there's one part of what's happening to her that is kind of causing everything else to be stressful. And I said to her the other day, what does worst case scenario look like in this? Like, worst case. And we nutted it out together, and I said, you know what, if this is worst case, what would you do? What things can you provide to yourself to make worst case not actually that bad? And then we nutted out things that she could do or things she could put in place now so that if worst case scenario happened, it wouldn't be so much of a blow to her. And then once we'd done that, I said, so if worst case scenario happened like tomorrow, you'd be okay. She was like, yeah, I would be. I don't want the worst case scenario because I'm not ready for that, but yeah, I would be okay. And it really got me thinking, like, it's just such a useful thing when you're really in the middle of something and you're stressed, you're stressed. How is this going to play out? I hope this happens. I can't handle it if that happens. What is, sometimes you're in that heightened emotion and everything just seems like, God, I can't deal. And that's when you really need to rein yourself in and you need to identify exactly, like, what are you scared about? What is the worst thing that would happen? And sometimes the worst case scenario is pretty brutal. Like, stuff happens in life, and sometimes worst case is actually really brutal and scary. Sometimes though, worst case, depending on your situation, is, not that bad. Everything is relative, isn't it? So, like what I would suggest if you're in a real pickle at the moment, like, this is going wrong and this is happening and what am I going to do about this? And there's like so many outcomes to a situation that you're in. Identify what worst case actually looks like. What are you scared about? What is the worst thing that could ever happen in this situation now? The worst thing. Write it down. Get familiar with it. Acquaint yourself with it. This is the worst thing that will happen. Then once you've got that and you're looking it in the face and you're not going to shy away from it because you're brave, you're going to look at it and you're going to read it and you're going to make friends with it. This is the worst thing. Then you are going to write down, what are some things that I can do to implement now that are going to help me out if that actually happens? Like, what's something that I can do? Maybe if that happens, my nerves are going to be through the freaking roof, so I need to enroll in a yoga class. Or maybe it's something actually more practical than that. Maybe it's I need to get financial advice about something now so that if that happens, I'm set. Maybe you need to ask a friend, hey, if this happens in a few weeks, I need to know that you're on standby to help me out. Like the practical things. Make a list. What are the things you can set yourself up with now? That means worst case scenario happens and it's not actually as dire as if it happened, without those things. Set yourself up well. And then the last thing that I would say, once you've identified worst case, set yourself up with a plan, then recognize that you would still be standing here, worst case or not, regardless of what happens, like the outcome, whatever it is. You will be okay. Sometimes it's really hard to remember that. Like really hard, depends on what you're going through. It can be really hard to remember whatever you are going through, whether it ends up being worst case scenario or not. No matter what happens, you will be okay because you don't have a choice. I wanted to remind you of that because sometimes when you're in the middle of something and you can't see the forest for the trees, you need that reminder that says, you know what? Doesn't matter what happens here. I am going to be okay. Just remind yourself of that. If you're going through something, I'm going to be okay. No matter what happens, I'm going to be all right. Just wanted to share that with you. It's pretty useful sometimes. Thank you for watching. I hope you're having a really beautiful day wherever you are, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.